I've worked in art ever since I was in grade school, actually. Always enjoyed making pictures, and have been fortunate enough to continue to be able to do that throughout my life, off and on, in between doing other things. I'm a retired Air Guard with a tour of duty with the Active Air Force and then the Air Guard out of Great Falls. Thought this was a wonderful opportunity. I was really appreciative to be able to come over here and create a mural on the band shell in this park, specifically because of the fact that this is the Veterans Memorial Park. It made it a little more meaningful to me to be able to do this. Public Art Committee at Helena put out a call for artists, and it comes in the form of prospectus, and so they specified that they wanted icons of Helena, and in a subdued pattern, subdued colors, so that it wouldn't detract from performers on the stage. And so that's why I did it in 6 shades of gray. That allows lighting in there to change the effect of the gray. The grays will play well with just about anything they want to do inside there. And I simplified the forms so that it doesn't distract from performers on the stage. As far as any changes as I worked on it, the dome was more severely curved than I realized, and so that presented some technical difficulties or problems to overcome as I was working on it. Probably one of the biggest changes was adding the grass under the fire tower and deciding to put some little lacy, more like trees in the middle ground and the background. There were a lot of areas, especially where it receives the most sun exposure, which would be over on that side where the cathedral is, to the outside edge, has received a lot of sun wear and weathering, and so all of that needed to be washed off and sanded and tried to smooth out. It's had several layers of paint on it over the past however many decades that they've been doing this, and so all of that needed to be sanded and cleaned out. The baseboard in there has been replaced because what was in there, it needed it. And basically washing the dust and the dirt of, 10 or 15 years worth from the last time that it was painted to get that off, and then priming it all. It took a lot more primer than I thought it would, because you were covering some pretty dark colors, the dark greens of the trees that were in there. It took more primer than I thought it would take. But as far as how many hours or how many days, I put in some pretty long days, so I really don't keep track of my time as such. But there were some days I might come in at 7 in the morning and actually start painting by 7 in the morning and then work till midnight. So I don't know how many days do you want to count that as. Maybe that's really 2 days at least at a pop. But it's enjoyable. So I don't count the hours. Got a lot of comments from people throughout the day in the park. It was really a lot of fun to meet all kinds of folks that come into the park and hear their comments and their input.
Going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. We've got special guests here today, so I'd like to invite Chief Petty Officer of the USS Helena, Ivan Reyes, forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would, Officer Reyes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Hold. Thank you, Mr. Reyes. I'd like to thank the Lewis and Clark Veterans Council and the Shining Thistle Pipe Band for being with us at this dedication today. We're here in Veterans Memorial Park, and those of us here in Helena, this is sacred ground, and it goes back to 1942. Of course, the band shell is an important part of this community facility. This is the third or fourth time I've seen the band shell repainted, and I think this is by far the most beautiful scene depicting Helena that we've had heretofore around here. It's going to be a brief but I hope meaningful ceremony. And I'd like to begin by asking Commissioner Matt Elshasser or Commissioner Daniel Ellison to come on forward, please. Join with me, and we'd welcome any comments that either of you two gentlemen may have.
Well, Mayor, this is the first painting of the memorial that I've seen, but I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm very pleased with all the dignitaries here, especially the members of the USS Helena.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Elshasser. Yes, and we do. Our special distinguished guests today include the commander of the USS Helena, Paul Dinius, and the chief of the boat, as we say, David Petreo, and Lieutenant Junior Grade Daniel Gary Ferguson, who we also call the Chop. And you've met Chief Petty Officer Ivan Reyes already. And with us from the Navy League, or the U.S. Navy right here in Helena out at Fort Harrison, is its commander, Mr. Officer Shane Euler. Thank you all, gentlemen. We're honored by your presence here in town this week and at this event. And the people who have the most to do with this include our Parks and Recreation Department, its director, Amy Teagarden, and Superintendent of Parks Maintenance, I see Rich Lynn back there. They worked very hard on this. Amy, would you come forward and share a few of your thoughts and words with us, please?
Well, I would like to extend my thanks to the Helena Public Arts Committee for their assistance with this project and helping to do proposals. They generated a lot of interest in proposals for the professional artist community. I'd like to extend our thanks to the artist Carol Poppenga for her creatism and dedication to this project as well. And most of all, what I see important about this mural is that it provides a stronger connection from the band shell back to Veterans Memorial Park. And as we all value the recreation opportunities that we have, it's not without those freedoms that our veterans have fought for that allow us to have these recreational opportunities. So thank you, and it's just a joy to be able to dedicate this back to the Helena community.
Thank you, Amy. And Carol, please come forward. Carol is from Lewistown, Montana, which is in the exact geographic center of our fair state. She entered a competition along with a number of other distinguished artists from communities around the state and around the region, and with Amy's strong recommendation, the commission selected Carol's scheme for the painting of this band shell. It turned out beautiful.
Thank you. If I might say just a few words, it was a privilege and honor to be able to come to Helena and create this work here. And when it said in the prospectus to select Helena icons to present on the wall, not living in Helena, I had to think about what do I see, what do I think of when I think of Helena, and also what connection does it have to this park. And I think Amy touched on it very well when she talked about the recreational opportunities and the freedoms that we have is because of the veterans. But the icons that I selected, the fire tower to me represents community looking after community, neighbor looking after neighbor. The Capitol Dome represents we are a nation of law, and of course the military defends that for us against invaders and overseas. The cathedral for me represents the community of faith, of all faiths, not just any one particular one, not that particular cathedral, but all faiths. And that's the foundation, that community, and it makes a circle. It comes back again to that fire tower of community looking after community. And that brings it back to the fact that this is the Veterans Memorial Park, and it's neighbor again looking after neighbor, and that's what this initiative is about, is my opinion. And then the red, white, and blue arches was not something that was asked for in the prospectus. It was a time as a veterans park.
Thank you very much. Your creativity, and you seem to have captured the essence of Helena here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We deeply appreciate it. Kids and adults will be enjoying this for years to come. Our city manager's here, and he's pretty much the guy who coordinates everything good that goes on in this town. Ron, would you like to?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick words. I can't tell if it's the sun in my eyes that's putting a tear, or just the gravity of what we've accomplished here. And, when I look at the mural, it represents our community and all that we stand for here, and the people that are within it supporting our military. We tie it to the memorial, and we have our defenders on either side. And I think if you'll look really hard, there's probably a periscope back there someplace representing the USS Helena. But, what I've heard from veterans, folks, they don't want to be forgotten, and I can tell you this community will not forget our veterans and all that they've done for our country. We support all our active military, and I'd like to think that what we represent here and with our memorial, that all the future kids that will serve in our military will also take note of the band shell, the memorial, and feel proud of what they can look forward to doing for our country. So thank you all for coming. I'm proud to be a part of the vision that was laid out 10 years ago, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to see it to its conclusion. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron. I'd also like to recognize Maren Olson, who's here from Congressman Denny Rehberg's office. Maren, thanks for coming down. Congressman Denny Rehberg's serving his 5th term, I believe. He's getting to be a senior member of House Appropriations Committee. He's been a good friend to the city of Helena over the years. And since Maren's here, I might as well talk just a little bit and tell you this was actually done with these so-called stimulus dollars. I gotta say that. $18,000. We felt it was a good investment in those monies into public art. And it matches perfectly what's going on across the street. You see a major project across the street that's supported primarily by a voter-approved bond in the neighborhood of $10 million several years ago. It's going to be Centennial Park, and it's going to have many features for kids and adults in town. Amy's been working hard on it for a couple years. It happens to sit on top of Helena's second